Okay, so I got something very special to show y'all. And it's another rare Whittle Shortline product. But something that... Hold on. Let's do this side. Actually, no. So I would upload this on the Whittle Rare Museum account. But since this is going to be a rough video, and I want to dedicate the Whittle Rare Museum to, like, well put together video essays and history videos, I'm gonna just post this in my main account. So let's rip into this. I hope this is well packed, and it is. Alright, so you're gonna hear some Mexican music outside because coincidentally we're having a party today for my graduation, though it's pretty early, but either way. So here is everything well packed. There's no special note inside congratulating me on this fine auction that I was surprisingly the only one who bid. So many things are happening, which is why I'm just uploading this on my main account. But either way, so it's the entire set, and I was surprised that I was the only bidder in this auction because from my past experience of researching Whittle Shortline, I know that people do go crazy when it comes to Whittle Shortline auctions. But surprisingly, this isn't one of them. Probably because it was pretty expensive to begin with. But even then, I've seen people spend $400 on like an Amtrak set, which is not the rarest Whittle Shortline product around. Not being so dead ass serious. I might explain in a future time, but just take note that, have you ever noticed that when new items appear on eBay when it comes to Whittle Shortline, there's always Amtrak stuff, but either way, ladies and gentlemen, oh, this is so cool. Oh, this is nice, but it sucks that sun faded. Either way, here it is. The Casey Jones Museum and Village of Casey Jones. This is the version that is exclusively sold at the Casey Jones Museum, as you can tell. They do have a normal version that you could have bought from their online store or their in-person shop, which doesn't have the 382 number board on the smelt box, and also the Casey Jones Museum marker on the cab. But either way, right here is the tender, and I just want to talk about this tender real quick. Now, this might look like a normal old style Whittle Shortline tender, but if I just grab... Oh, hold on. Okay, so this is what an old style Whittle Shortline tender will look like. This is the ill-fated Whittle Shortline Science City Museum tender that I bought, and I could never win or buy the engine and boxcar that accompanies this tender and the Caboose that I have one day. By the way, this Casey Jones tender is smaller than the Science City tender. And in the pictures, I thought this was going to be the same size as this tender, just that the wheels are stretched out to the edges of the chassis. But no, this is quite interesting. That doesn't look half that bad. Let me bring in Becky. Look at her. She's with one of her brothers. Becky is a full 3D print. And let me get the Easter Bunny engine. Which they fell over. Which I still need to fix. I still need to find the original shade of purple for this engine, since when I tried to restore it, I got the wrong purple paint. From afar, it doesn't look that bad, but yeah, up close and certain lighting, it's very noticeable. But either way, you are the two. I'll take better pictures and scans of Casey Jones later. But either way, oh, he feels quite hefty. But yeah, there's the original Whittle Shortline link and copyright branding, basically, which I wish they still do to this day. And now let's pull out. Let's put the Easter train right there and Becky over there out of shot. But yeah, let's get out the boxcar. Sorry if I'm doing this out of frame, but it's kind of awkward to do this in frame. But either way. Oh, hello. This has a sticker. Oh, wow. $9.99. Yeah, that's fancy. Not really fancy, but that's rare. But yeah, another fellow researcher does own the same Casey Jones Village and Museum boxcar, and they also own a Caboose. But the thing is, with their Caboose, yeah, if you couldn't tell, I just came back from work, got dressed. Well, I took a shower, of course. Dressed up for the party, and I am still tired, but I still want to make this video and show y'all publicly this cool find that I have to add to my Whittle Shortline collection and to document in my museum. But yeah, here's the Caboose, and here's that same researcher's Caboose. It looks a bit different to mine, and mine is original to the set, so most likely this Caboose was changed later in production. But yeah, here's the Whittle branding. Copyright impending. This is the first piece of Whittle Shortline merchandise that I got with this copyright impending patent under the car, which this isn't a thing exclusive to this car. There have been other Whittle Shortline engines and rolling stock with that same patent decal underneath the car. You could say that go for the most common engines that makes those older engines with that patent pending more rarer and more exclusive, but whatever. Either way, let's get this thing on the track. Oh no. So here is the ever so famous Casey Jones. Well, more so, the museum version of Casey Jones. You see, Whittle Shortline, if I can just set my camera, this is just going to be quick and simple. I will go more into detail about Casey Jones here and the other Whittle Shortline 240s. Thank goodness I did not drop Becky there. But either way, I'll go more into detail with them in a future video in the Whittle Rim Museum. I just gotta have time and motivation to do it, which is the main driving force for everything. But hold on, let me see if he looks cooler here. Yeah, he looks cooler there, but either way. So, Whittle Shortline produced a couple versions of Casey Jones. There's the first one that was a part of their first lineup of steam engines, along with the Blue 97 engine, with a smaller boiler from what I could tell. The same wheel arrangement where like the two driving wheels are closer to one another instead of spread out like on the Easter train, which was an addition that was added to the 240s later in their production life around the early 2000s. And then, of course, Whittle Shortline made an exclusive version for the Casey Jones Museum and Village, which is this version you see in front of you. There's also a couple variants, maybe a couple variants out there. I know one where the running board, there's a pretty noticeable space on up here on the running board up front. Well, can't really illustrate it well, but basically, just imagine there's like a bigger space up here on the footplate where I'm pointing at. Either way, so there's that one, and most likely later in their production life, they got the newer Casey Jones tender, which basically looked like this. You can't really see it because I painted up this Casey Jones tender to match the Easter Bunny engine, and I still need to put some decals on it. Don't worry, the Casey Jones tenders are a lot more common than the engine itself, nor these cars. But either way, there was the last iteration of Casey Jones as this streamlined 240 was a fully blacked out version. And I assume this is their later production because after they discontinued this style of 240, I like to call it the streamlined 240, as you noticed earlier. They made a new Casey Jones 382 using their newer, at the time newer, modern 240 design. Can you tell I'm tired? Which, I don't know, Casey Jones is pretty strange to me as a little toy because, well, at first, yeah, the 240 was the only steam engine design that Whittle Shortline had. But in 2002, they introduced the 440, and later in the 440 production life, they could have made a 10-wheeler version to make a proper Casey Jones. But they didn't, despite the fact that a 10-wheeler would be bigger than a 440, so using a 440 would make sense. Just extend the driving wheel section. But who knows? Whittle Shortline stopped producing steam engines after 2018, I believe. Actually, 2021, right when they sold the last little engine that could merchandise. But either way, that's a quick rundown of the production life of Casey Jones. Again, I will go more into detail about Casey Jones here and the other 240s that Whittle Shortline produced in a future video in the Whittle Rare Museum. And more polished than this video right here. By the way, thank you guys for watching and look out for them photo scans and pictures.
Stop, look, listen, cause you're gonna hear a brand new story about a great engineer. He's the greatest of them all, we claim. Number one's his engine, Casey Jones, his name. Casey Jones, steaming and rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess. When you hear the tooting of the whistle, it's Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball S. Casey Jones, steaming and rolling. Casey Jones, you never have to guess. When you hear the tooting of the whistle, it's Casey at the throttle of the Cannonball Express.
Also, two things to say about Casey Jones. This train is special to me now for a couple of reasons. One, it's the second rarest the third rarest Whittle Shortline item that I own. Two, well, it's a complete set, and everything is all original here, even up to the original sun fadiness, which really annoys me. But I'm not going to do some alcohol. Some people don't call it electro brighting. Well, no, not electro. Retro brighting. Basically, you put an item, primarily plastic, into a alcohol that's like black and it's a certain type of alcohol. You put it in there, and you put it out in the UV light, basically outside in the sunlight, and you just let the sun like restore the item into its original color. But like these are water slide decals, and from what I could tell, when it comes to alcohol, alcohol will destroy these decals, and I'm not gonna risk a pretty rare little short line item just for getting this yellowness off the item. But either way, um, the main important thing is that this came from Texas, good old Texas. I live in Texas, so when for most items, most kind of takes a week for them to arrive. This thing only arrived in like 3 days, and I'm quite happy that this little engine came from good old Texas. But I also find that funny since most Whittle Shortline items, mostly the most rarest ones, will almost appear around the Northeast because Whittle Shortline is based in Missouri or California, basically train central of America. But either way, one more thing. This thing tracks pretty well on my layout. Where like most oh, never mind. And again, that is a tight curve. Either way, this thing is quite fun to just roll around my train set. That's kind of jank. My camera ain't picking up. Casey Jones, steaming and a rolling. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Whittle Shortline did make an anniversary with Casey Jones coach to go along with Casey Jones. So now I'm on the lookout for that. Also, I find it pretty interesting. Anyway, yeah.